Economic Development and Jobs Committee. I see our members are here and accounted for. Councilwoman Rahman, Councilman Krikorian, Councilman Marquis Harris-Dawson, Councilman Bloomfield. Madam, Mr. Clerk,
yes.
would you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Price.
Here.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Here.
Councilmember Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Councilmember Rowan.
Here.
Councilmember Harris-Dawson.
Present.
Thank you. Good seeing you too, Mr. Blumenfield. I didn't see you at first. Welcome aboard. One hand off. We have two exciting issues to talk about today. Would you call the first item, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. Item number 1, Executive Task Force on Youth Development Report relative to developing a City of Los Angeles Youth Development Strategy.
Pardon? Okay, Councilman Rodriguez.
Sorry.
With others, has been really shepherding this baby through. She wanted to make a few remarks before we heard from the Executive Task Force. And so, Councilwoman Rodriguez, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Price and colleagues, for having me join you here today. I'm sorry because I'm hearing some feedback. But thank you so much for scheduling this, Mr. Price. I really appreciate it. And first of all, I also want to thank you for seconding this motion to create a Youth Development Task Force. Colleagues, this item before you is a culmination of work and advocacy years in the making. When I was first elected to the City Council a few years back, the Invest in Youth Coalition had been meeting with several council members to raise this conversation that we have a broken system in the City of Los Angeles. A system that is not structured and designed to meet the needs of youth in the City of Los Angeles with outdated or unmeasured programs. And any parent, educator, or young adult will tell you, if the numbers don't, that the pandemic has only amplified the disparities that we've seen in access to programs and opportunities here in the City of Los Angeles. We currently have 26 different city departments who purport to do youth development programming. We know that silos don't work, and deflecting responsibility in this conversation isn't going to change the trajectory. And while we have conversations in the context of how we're meeting the needs of members in the city, there's a very big population, most of whom are involved in raising their voices on the streets of Los Angeles, advocating for change. And this was part of that conversation. How we invest in youth in the City of Los Angeles is paramount to how we also address the concerns with respect to public safety. And making sure that we make far greater investments in our young people, I believe, are a much better way for us to achieve a safer city for all of us in the City of Los Angeles. I want to thank the members of this Youth Development Task Force. I know Mr. Blumenfield is part of his purview as Chair of Public Works Committee, and Mr. Price. We all have appointees, including the Council President and the Mayor, made up of a diversity of individuals, both from parents, youth advocates, youth service providers, nonprofit organizations, just from a cross-section of the city. And I want to thank two individuals that were instrumental in leading this dialogue. Luca Lanche with Legacy LA, who also, through her work on youth development and youth advocacy, was then identified and selected to become a police commissioner in the midst of all of this work. And of course, David Turner, who's been done incredible work with My Brother's Keeper and has been an outstanding community advocate and partner in this effort to raise this dialogue and raise youth voices in the city. So thank you, colleagues, and please, I hope you really appreciate the amount of work that these folks put in, the amount of outreach that they conducted in the midst of a pandemic. When we were, at the time when we were even holding committee meetings, this group convened to help elevate and incorporate the voices across the city in this process. So I want to thank the youth, I want to thank their families and the members of the task force for all the work that they did. So with that, Lou, I'm going to take it over to you.
Well, hold on, Monica. Let me first of all thank you for your comments. I know we're going to hear from the board in a minute, but I'm going to take public comment at this point and give those who want to have some input a chance to do so before we hear from the task force. That's agreeable? Okay, so Mr. Clerk, would you please read the call-in information, and we can go to the first caller.
Yes, very good. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-177-1578 and then press the pound key. Press the pound key again when prompted for a participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak.
Speaker, are you there? Are there any callers in?
Mr. Chair, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. We'll have to reconnect. Please hold a moment.
Okay, we will pause momentarily. I tell you, why don't we go through the task force and to permit them to make their report. We know they've been working very, very hard on this. I was supported this motion. We know that
followed by pound.
We know that youth development certainly is an important component of economic development, and so we're happy to hear from the executive task force on youth development.
Enter your participant ID. You are in the meeting now. There are 16 participants. You have been muted by the meeting host and cannot unmute yourself.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we have our participants on the line now?
We are almost there. Just one moment.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that.
So we're doing public comment first, or?
Yeah, we're going to take public comment first.
Okay.
Should I try again?
Comment?
Okay. Did not. I try pound star 6.
You are unmuted.
Okay, that's a start.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take the next caller.
Well, we're waiting for the first caller.
They're not on the line.
Okay, we'll take the next caller then.
Caller ending in 7198, press *6 to unmute yourself.
You have been muted.
We provide that at no additional charge.
Caller 7198, are you there? Caller ending in 7198, are you there? Caller ending in 2685, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 5987, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Hi, I'd like to speak on agenda item number 1, please.
Okay, you have a minute. You can start.
Hi, my name is Abraham Castillo. I am a youth leader for City District number 1, and I am a member of the Invest in Youth Coalition. I have read the report written by the Youth Development Task Force and know all these recommendations are long overdue. I urge you to support all recommendations because young people need a youth development department now. As a young person who is both first generation and low income, I at first didn't really know about the importance about having a program that engages youth and creates a safe space until I was discriminated by a 5th grade teacher early that school year, who called me a rapist, a pig, a fat-ass junk, and a moron who will never go to college. As you can imagine, I was sad, mad, and mad at the world for not allowing me for this to happen. But even more mad at myself for being born Hispanic and having to carry different time.
Caller ending in 3967, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 3967. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Items you'd like to speak on?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Brian Complito, and I'd like to give public comment on agenda item number 1. I'm a college student. Okay. I'm a college student who lives in Council District 14. I support the Invest in Youth Coalition and their demand for equitable invest in young folks. I have read the report written by the Youth Development Task Force and know that all these recommendations are long overdue. I urge you all to support all recommendations because young people need a youth development department. I believe that investment in youth development is one of the most important decisions that we can take as responsible citizens in one of America's biggest cities, and we should have a clear plan in regard to moving forward with the Youth Development Task Force and creating equal opportunity to everyone who seeks it and needs it. In the 21st century, I think our youth should have more access than ever to resources that focus solely on them in order to provide success and opportunity in a world that is always demanding more, especially in these trying times. Youth are the future, and they are the path forward to making a better community and really a better world.
Caller ending in 8122, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 8122, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Hi,
Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Kimberly Alvarado, and I'd like to give a public comment on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Thank you. So there's a huge need right now for the direct investment of youth through the creation of a youth development department, and addressing the needs of youth under a department that serves needs and populations would ensure the proper accountability for funding of youth investment. Having a department that focuses on just youth would ensure that support is available to youth. So this pandemic has transitioned us into working remotely, and there has been a missed opportunity in providing youth as students with proper learning equipment. And students need tech materials such as computers, laptops, Wi-Fi access, Wi-Fi reception, and even like study spaces in their homes. And all these things most schools have been unable to provide or supply due to budget. And so I'm asking to please support the task force blueprint and implement the youth development department. We need to focus invest in youth.
Caller ending in 7006, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Yes, item 1, item 2, and the general public comment portion.
You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
That's the most exciting portion. Yes. What did you do? Yes, sir, I'm talking now. Don't interrupt me, asshole. All right. Yes, so item number 1, we have these children, youth foundations and caucuses. Remember when the police department was mentoring youngsters and cops were taking young girls on rides to hell? So I don't think the city has a very good track record of dealing with minors. So we should not support something like this, especially with a current police commissioner getting paid on the side. Conflict of interest, right, Mr. Price? Well, that's right, sir. That's right, good. Me and Mr. Price understand one another better. So no, number 1. Number 2, fuck number 2. I can't read it. Now I'll get to my general comment. Well, as you know, Monica Rodriguez, as wonderful of a person as she is not a member of this committee. LeBron Act states, quote, members not on the committee can observe but can't speak. Look at that, Mr. City Attorney. So please follow the Brown Act. And the FBI is currently watching. They're not really doing anything, but they get paid to watch you. Yeah. So, again, a big shout out. And remember that at today's General Council meeting, your city council member discriminated against an autistic child trying to speak in public comment. Thank you, Joey Buckets, for standing up for that young person. Yes. So we will yield the rest of the time to quote Armando Herman, fuck you. Thank you so much. God bless.
Caller ending in 2067, press star 6 to unmute yourself, 2067. Caller ending in 2067, press star 6. Caller, are you there?
Hello? Yes.
Can you please say your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes. Hi, my name is Cassandra, and I'd like to speak on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. You can start.
Thank you. My name is Cassandra, and I am a youth organizer with the Invest in Youth campaign who has been involved since 2014. Since then, young leaders from middle to college students have been working non-stop to get a task force and to, most importantly, create a standalone youth development department. We have met with you and talked about the lack of structure LA has for youth investment right now. It's not okay that the $60.3 million that are invested in youth development are scattered across 46 different departments. It's not okay that we as youth of color are the ones disconnected the most from resources. But there is a solution. As the task force organizations point out, having a department would ensure that there is a structure and that the youth who have led this movement for so long are finally given a seat at the table. Our city needs to have a structure that includes youth voices. We have been left out of the conversation for far too long. We have the opportunity to create youth power and youth decision-making opportunity. Please support the recommendations of the task force and establish a standalone youth development department. Thank you.
Caller ending in 7198, press star 6 to unmute yourself, 7198. Are you there?
Yes, we are here.
Caller, can you please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on?
Carla? Martinez? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi. What item would you like to speak on, Carla?
On item number 1?
Okay, you have a minute. You can start.
My name is Carla Martinez, and I have a student that attends Learning for Life. My son is 16 years old, Julio. I'd like to give a public comment on, of course, item number 1, There's a huge need, capital need, to make sure our youth remain in focus and that their needs are addressed, especially those of different needs and populations. Our community has to serve all the youth, and this youth coalition is a way to do that. Thank you.
Caller ending in 9628, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 9628. Are you there? Caller ending in 9915, 9915, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Sure. Emmanuel Delayage, item number 1.
You have a minute for your item. You can start now.
Hi, council members. I'm a resident of Council District 4. I'm the father of 2 boys, ages 15 and 18, and I'm also the executive director of Casa 010 Theater in Boyle Heights and a member of the Invest in Youth Coalition. And I'm here to urge you to support the recommendations of the task force, namely the Youth Development Department. Supporting this report means supporting youth who are at a critical stage in their development, youth who are in the process of becoming adults and making critical decisions that will affect their lives forever. In Boyle Heights, at Casa 010, we serve over 200 youth per year. Most are low income and often categorized as at risk. And I see firsthand the need for programs that engage youth and give them a safe place to learn, to bond, to grow. Having 2 boys, I know firsthand the attention, the mentoring, and the care young men need. Youth need the resources to become healthy, contributing members of society, especially low-income youth whose parents are busy working. The city needs to provide resources for those youth to stay engaged in positive activities that they may not be getting at home. Your support of this report will ensure a better future for our youth and our city.
Caller ending in 4472, 4472, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, my name is Olga, and I'd like to give public comment on agenda item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. You can start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olga Corona de la Cruz, and I am a resident of District 13. I've also worked with youth-focused nonprofits in the city of Lake for the past 10 years, and a member of the Investing Youth Coalition, and fully support the demand for equitable investment in young folks. I see our young people work tirelessly, encouraging their peers, mobilizing each other, and facilitating meetings, town halls, collected data. They've been doing the work, and it shows. And I think it's been extremely long overdue for these recommendations to not be taken into consideration. So I urge you all to please support the recommendations. Our young people need a self-standing youth development department. Thank you.
Caller ending in 0661, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 0661. Caller, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'd like to give public comment on item number 1.
Okay, go ahead and start. You have a minute.
All right. Hi, my name is Lena Washington. I work in Boyle Heights in Council District 14, and I'm a part of the Investing Youth campaign. We want to highlight that we need investment and long-term planning for youth, and want to urge you to consider establishing a youth development department that will only focus on youth between the ages of 10 to 25. For this reason, I urge you to support the recommendations for a youth development department written by the Youth Development Task Force. Supporting this report means making meaningful investments in youth and their well-being. We need a youth development department that gives youth a voice to advocate for themselves, for their needs, and for their futures. A department that gives youth decision-making power and that uplifts their voices to influence the types of programs the city funds. Your support of this report will ensure that young folks have a seat at the table when it comes to discussing matters that impact them directly. Thank you.
Caller ending in 6907, 6907, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Yes, my name is Oscar. I'd like to speak on agenda item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute starting now.
Thank you. My name is Oscar Alberto Dominguez. I'm a youth organizer with the Investing Youth Coalition. I live in Council District 1, and I want to urgently ask the council members here today to stand with the youth of our city during these times by supporting and implementing the recommendations in this task force report. Youth advocates, adult allies, community members, city and county officials, and community organizations came together to put in the work since last April, and now have finalized a community-led and youth-led proposal for a new vision and strategy and how the city serves and empowers youth. This report maps out funding, equity factors, mental health and art programs, peacemaker roles, parent and family support, youth hubs, transformative justice, target youth populations, list of youth-approved programs, and goals for an effective, transparent, integrated, and accountable youth development department. This report should be an easy yes and an easy win for all youth and for the city's future. We've done our part, now we expect for you to do yours. We know historically the past young generations, especially those from communities of color, have been left out by the city, so let's make sure that does not happen again. Let's do the right thing by our youth today.
Caller ending in 5655, press star 6 to unmute yourself, 5655. Hello? Hello? Hi, can you please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on? Yes, my name is Lindsay, and I would like to speak on agenda item number 1. Okay, you have a minute starting now. Hi, my name is Lindsay Sanchez, and I'm a community member of Council District 9 and a member of the Invest in Youth campaign. I want to highlight that we need investment in long-term planning for youth and want to urge you to consider establishing a youth development department. The creation of this department will help students across different backgrounds and communities to have access to opportunities and resources that have not been traditionally accessible. Across the nation, the city of Los Angeles leads in finding bold and innovative solutions to problems happening across the country. But when it comes to a parent's most important concern, opportunities for the child to succeed, Los Angeles does not lead, particularly when it comes to investing in youth outcomes. Because my community invested in me and believed in me enough to dedicate their energy and time into my future, I was able to experience many educational opportunities I would have never otherwise had access to because the city does not provide them. Unfortunately, community organizations cannot do it alone. The city must help them, and with the creation of the Los Angeles Youth Development Department. Caller ending in 3540, press star 6 to unmute yourself, 3540. Hello, my name is Lucy Herrera, and I would like to speak on agenda item number 1. We have a minute starting now. There is and has been a huge need for the direct investment of youth through the creation of a youth development department. Having a department that focuses on just youth would ensure that the over 800,000 plus youth living in LA have the resources that they need to be successful. I have been a part of the years of advocacy towards getting this youth development department established in the city of LA. The framework and steps needed to make this happen is all there and included in the report. I also want to shout out the Youth Development Task Force as well as the Invest in Youth campaign for including the voices of youth in community and the report. This needs to be the precedent when making decisions about youth. Now is the time to stop making decisions for our young people and instead ask them what they need to be successful. For this reason, I urge you to support the recommendations. It's time for the city of Los Angeles to step up and provide the long-term youth investment that has been denied for far too long. Your support of this report will ensure that young folks have a seat at the table when it comes to discussing matters that impact them directly. We all feel. Caller ending in 6721, 6721, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I would like to give public comment. Good afternoon. My name is Charles Legaspi from Loyola High School, and I would like to give public comment on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute starting now.
As a 16-year-old youth organizer with the Invest in Youth Coalition, I'm glad that our 7-year-long efforts finally reach an agenda. Our voices have started influencing the City Council, and council members are finally recognizing the need to take an action against the lack of investment in our communities, especially during these unprecedented and difficult times. Councilmember Monica Rodriguez is helping the city to take its first step in equitable investing in the lives of young people who have been left out of the conversation for far too long. Ultimately, we need an independent youth department in order to meet the needs of the youth in the city. There needs to be an investment and long-term planning done strictly for the youth with the focus that we need. As a high school student, I've seen countless kids struggle to find a proper department that regularly provides support to the youth, especially in terms of public services like education. The establishment of a centralized youth development department that holistically and equitably serves young people is needed now. Thank you.
Caller ending in
6874. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. 6874.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Caller, please state your name and the items you like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Jackie Vargas, and I would like to speak on item number 1. There's a huge need right now for the direct investment of youth through the creation of Youth Development Department. Addressing the needs of youth under a department that serves different needs and populations would ensure the proper accountability for funding of youth investment. Having a department that focuses on youth would ensure that youth are actually being prioritized and cared for. We have been fighting for this youth department for years and years now, and we won't stop until it gets done. However, as a youth myself, it is so sad to see that we have to fight so hard and push so hard to get this department. That should never be the case. Why is it so difficult to get this department? Youth are the future. You should want to help us. You should want to do better. What is stopping you? You have an animal department but can't find the time to create a youth one? Shame on you. What are you implying? You now have no excuses. We have heard them all. We have jumped through your hoops and trials. All excuses have been used. It is now up to you to take us into consideration.
Caller ending in 4891. Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to speak on agenda. Yeah, I'd like to speak on agenda item number 1 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute for your agenda item and 1 minute for public comment. You can start.
Cool, yeah. So hello to everyone in the space. My name is Cassandra Cordova, pronoun she and her. I'm a youth organizer with the Invest Youth Coalition, and I cannot have this committee overlook the recommendations being presented by the Youth Development Task Force. As you've been hearing from endless public comments, youth investment is long overdue. The city of LA has over 800,000 young folks and establishing an equitable department that offers holistic services that these young folks who want to see is doing the absolute bare minimum. We need more spaces that allow young folks to gain leadership skills to advocate in their own communities. And I'm calling to Councilman Price. I'm calling you to remember the day that these young folks on the line packed the chamber in City Hall when they shared the personal narratives and reasons why at that time we needed you and Councilwoman Rodriguez to pass the establishment of a Youth Development Task Force. Well, Councilman Price, we're here a year and a half later asking you to continue championing the movement. The task force is done. The report will be presented in full, and young people across the city. Hello?
Yes, you have a minute for your general public comment. You can start now.
Perfect. It's a year and a half later, and we're calling you to really continue championing the movement, and we need these recommendations of creating the standalone Youth Development Department to pass this committee to City Council, and we really need this committee to let all your colleagues know that these recommendations represent the voices of 800,000 young people living in our city. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Okay, caller ending in 6919. Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Caller, please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Aguirre, and I'm here to give public comment on agenda item number 1.
You have a minute to start now.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Aguirre. I am a constituent of District 13 and a member of the Invest in Youth Coalition and Self-Help Graphics. I have lived in the city of Los Angeles for most of my life. Growing up in Koreatown, one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the United States, I have been able to experience firsthand how important and influential youth programs are for kids growing up in the city. These are the future of Los Angeles, and we need to be heard and given a chance to be involved in issues that directly impact us. For this reason, I call you to support a youth development department written by the Youth Development Task Force in order to provide the necessary support for youth and direct input from youth. Thank you.
Caller ending in 1299. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. 1299.
Hello, my name is Michelle, and I'd like to give public comment on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Thank you. Council members, before you start, I hope you all have your phones down and are actually listening to our powerful youth. As a campaign lead and youth leader who has been with the Invest Youth campaign since I was a senior in high school back in 2014, I have seen the need for a youth development department that serves the needs of all youth across the city of Los Angeles. We have been here time after time for 7 years, calling and meeting with you all to see this happen, to get a seat at the table, and to give the funding you deserve. Council members, I would like to see you support the creation of a standalone youth development department that has been in the works for years by youth leaders all over LA. The task force represents our voices of years of advocacy. A youth development department is a step in the right direction to combat the historical injustices, inequalities, inequities, and exclusion that of generations of youth, especially youth of color, have faced for years. Our city needs to prioritize our youth, and our city budget must reflect that. We need to include youth in the process because we have been left.
Caller ending in 1517, press star 6 to unmute yourself, 1517.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Caller, please say your name and the item you'd like to speak on.
Hello, my name is Blanca and I would like to speak on agenda item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Start now.
Hello, my name is Blanca Isabella, and I'm a constituent of District Number 9 and a member of the Western Youth Coalition. As an LA youth, I'm pleased to share in the same space as my representatives today a moment that establishing a youth development department as laid out by the Youth Development Task Force report can become a consistent reality. And as my representatives, I urge you to normalize this intergenerational exchange through supporting this report that will help create the change the city needs. In order for the city to hold its reputation of change, open-mindedness, and acceptance, it must support, accept, and include its youth. LA youth must be included in conversations surrounding issues that affect us and our communities the most. There are no greater experts on the issues and systems of the city than those who live through it each and every day. Councilmember Price, as an LA native and alumni of Morningside High School in Inglewood, you know our fight. The need to be heard and create changes in the veins of every Angelino. It is why you and all of you are seated here before me today. Someone in your life, whether it was a teacher, mentor, parent, or council member, invested in you. Now it's your time to invest in the present and future of your community by supporting the Youth Development Task Force report and implementing a standalone youth development department. You are just in the first.
Caller ending in 2856, 2856, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, I would like to speak on item 1. My name is Belinda Campos Bresnahan. I was born and raised in Belinda Campos, item 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Thank you. I was born and raised in Boyle Heights, and I'm a very proud product of Los Angeles. Sadly, I had to go to other cities to get the investment I needed, and I don't want that for the future youth of Los Angeles. I am now program manager for Public Health Advocates, and have been a partner of the Invest in Youth Coalition. There is a huge need right now for the direct investment of youth through the creation of a youth development department. Addressing the needs of youth under a department that serves different needs and populations would not ensure the proper accountability for funding of youth investments. Please support the task force blueprint and implementation of the Youth Development Department. Thank you very much.
Caller ending in 2685, 2685, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, hello. My name is Natalie Molinas, and I'd like to speak on item number 1.
You have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Hi, so I'm calling because I am the Community Engagement at South Graphics, Community Engagement Coordinator, and we have been part of the Invest in Youth campaign since its inception. Currently work with our youth committee, and with our citizen interns, and our organization, like I said, has been part of this campaign since the beginning, like 7 years ago, when it started as a local campaign in Boyle Heights. As we know, the need for youth investment in LA is so great that this small campaign has grown to a citywide effort. And now we have representation everywhere from the San Fernando Valley to Koreatown to South LA, the East Side, and beyond. So I have seen the passion the youth bring to this campaign. I want to ask you to approve the recommendation of the Youth Development Task Force. The report includes recommendations by the very youth working tirelessly to get representation and their voices heard. They showed up to town halls, listening sessions, to give public comments, organizing each other to speak about the very issues affecting them. So please listen to the city's youth. I've had a lot of them have been on this call, and do what is needed to empower the next.
Caller ending in 7006, 7006, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 9628, 9628, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hi, caller. Please the items you'd like to speak on.
My name is Natalie Tobar. I'd like to give public comment on item number 1 and general comment, please.
Okay, you have a minute for each item. You can start now.
As I said, my name is Natalie Tobar, and here's a fun fact about me. I started this fight for a youth development department when I was 13 years old, and here I am at 18 years old, and that says a lot about the city of LA. The sad part is that there are many youth who started this fight when they were so young and have not been heard. We are here today to be heard and given we were told, and we will get, and most importantly, what we deserve. 1, I do want to acknowledge that the department that Council President Martinez and Councilwoman Rodriguez are creating is that is very necessary. But is not more or less necessary than the Youth Development Department, which leads me to ask, why can't we have both departments? You can't choose between these two. You can't just throw in the youth in the Department of Families and Children and say that is good enough for the thousands of young people in LA. This is a big step, but it's still not enough for all the youth in LA. I am worried that the youth will get lost in this new Department of Families and Children. It will not be at the priority. Yes, steps have been taken by LA County, and now it's time for the city of LA to listen and act. The budget of LA has always been strained because of obvious reasons and because of obvious priorities. I can see why the creation of the department is so difficult. But will there be funds from Measure J passed from citizens in LA County that will provide money for youth? We need to be ready with the department. We need to be ready with the Youth Development Department to be able to bring those funds to the city and use them in any way that benefits youth. I yield any extra time.
Caller ending in 6622, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 6622.
Hello.
I can hear you. Caller, please say your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Well, first of all, it's really rude that you guys only give us a minute, but it's whatever. But my name is Fernando.
And the item you'd like to speak on?
My name is Fernando Lopez, and I'm sorry?
What item would you like to speak on?
Item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
My name is Fernando Lopez, and I am a constituent youth leader, community member of Council District 6, and a member of the Invest in You campaign. We want to highlight that we need investment and long-term planning for youth, and want to urge you to consider establishing a youth development department that would only focus on youth between the ages of 10 and 25. For this reason, I urge you to support the recommendations for a youth development department written by the Youth Development Task Force. Supporting this report means supporting the demands of youth and community members who were actively involved in the process of writing and gathering data for this report. It's time for the city of Los Angeles to step up and provide the long-term youth investment that has been denied for far too long. Your support of this report will ensure that young folks have a seat at the table when it comes to discussing matters that impact us directly. Thank you.
Caller ending in 7198, 7198. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 3846, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 3846. Caller ending in 1829, 1829, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm calling to speak on item number 1.
Okay, you have 1 minute. You can start.
Hi, my name is Dr. Caprice Young. I'm the former president of the Los Angeles Unified School District Board of Education, and I want to speak strongly, positively on behalf of the recommendation of the Youth Task Force to create the Youth Development Department in the city of Los Angeles. I believe that the resources that are needed for youth are spread throughout the city of Los Angeles and the county, and more are going to be coming in from the federal government over the course of the next couple of years. And we need a strong youth development department to concentrate those resources and give our 10 to 25-year-olds the support that they need. I'm currently leading an organization that serves over 4,000 former dropouts, formerly disengaged youth, and all of the students that I serve would really be very well served by this department, and I thank the council members very much for their consideration. Thank you.
Caller ending in 7182, 7182, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Samantha Nieves, and I'd like to speak on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
I'm a member and youth of the Invest in Youth Coalition, and we put a lot of time and effort doing your job connecting with youth and community to figure out our needs for positive youth development. The report written by the Youth Development Task Force holds youth and community voices you'd be evil to ignore. I urge all of you to support all recommendations because young people need a youth development department. I believe our communities can be better supported and youth should have access to resources in their communities, not outside our communities. That allows them to build skill and passion to ensure a bright path. Stop ignoring that the future is now and is investment in youth. Measure J passed, ensuring the safety of young folks and providing safe space to enrichment programs, so I don't want to hear your broken record of there is no money. Invest in us, invest in the future and our greater health, and understand that youth development can save so much trauma. Thank you.
Caller ending in 4538, 4538, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Gabriela Oriana, and I would like to give public comment and general comment on agenda item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute for each item. Go ahead and start with item number 1.
Thank you. My name is Gabriela Oriana. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I am a young person who lives in Council District number 3. I strongly support the Invest in Youth Coalition and their demand for equitable invest in young folks. Currently, I serve as one of the youngest adults on the Reseda Neighborhood Council and one of the youngest adults on the executive board. I am the Youth and Education Co-Chair for the Reseda Neighborhood Council as well, and I have also been able to intern at the Great 818 in Canoga Park, which has allowed me to see how youth programs can positively impact the lives of young adults in the San Fernando Valley. I have also seen how youth programs, despite the fact that they mean good, are not a positive and safe environment for youth. I have read the report written by the Youth Development Task Force and know all of these recommendations are long overdue. I urge you all to support all recommendations because young people need a youth development department. As the RNC Secretary and Co-Chair of the Youth and Education Committee, I have first-handedly seen our 16-year-old youth board member dead named. This is not okay. The adult who committed the hate crime has still not received a formal apology, and the adult still serves on the board at the executive level. I think it's time the city opens their eyes and creates spaces that will allow for young adults of this generation, of the future, to evolve in the ways that are best for a local community. From my understanding, Measure J did pass in ensuring the safety of young folks by providing safe spaces and enrichment programs are all part of reimagining public safety. Therefore, these are potential funds you all can look into before some council members say there is no money. I yield any extra time. Thank you.
Caller ending in 3095, 3095, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, of course. Hi, my name is Amanda Gutierrez. I am a program coordinator at Legacy LA, and I have grown up in the Ramona Gardens community. I just want to add on to what everyone's saying. I know we sound like a broken record, but...
Excuse me. Can you just let us know what items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. You can start now.
Okay, of course. So I just want to add on to what everyone's been saying, and the reason why it sounds like a broken record is for the simple fact that we really need to make this happen. There's a huge need for investment in youth,
And, we can create that through a youth development department. Y'all need to address the needs of these folks. And, the body must pass these recommendations for the simple fact that we're tired and we need someone to believe in us. The framework is all there. The work is laid out for y'all. Now it's time for the council to step up to the plate and make it happen. Thank you.
Caller ending in 3845. I'm sorry, caller ending in 3846. Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hi, caller. Can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
My name is Stephanie Vargas, and I want to speak on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Okay, before I get started, I would really appreciate it if all the council members in this conference would get off their phone and actually listen to what I have to say and the rest of my other peers. It's not fair that we're fighting for a youth development department in the city of Los Angeles and you guys are on your phone ignoring us. There's a huge need right now for the direct investment of youth through the creation of a youth development department. Addressing the needs of youth under a department that serves different needs and populations would ensure the proper accountability for funding of youth investment. Having a department that focuses on just youth would ensure that youth are being heard. The framework is all there. The work is all laid out for you. Now it's time for the council to step up to the plate and make it happen. Thank you.
Caller ending in 6376. 6376. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
Caller, can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, my name is Darlene Vargas.
What item are you
And
speaking
item
on?
number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Thank you. My name is Darlene Vargas, and I am 10 years old, and even I know that needs to be done. It is a shame that I have to go out of my way to speak on this. I hope you support our mission to creating a youth development department in the city of Los Angeles. You have all our blueprints. It's your turn. Please make it happen.
Okay, thank you. Caller ending in 7150. 7150. Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello? Yes. My name is Leslie Valenzuela. Yes, my name is Leslie Valenzuela, and I would like to speak on item number 1 on public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute for each item. You can start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am a youth leader at Council District 14 and a member of the Invest in Youth campaign. I would like to start off by mentioning that the City of Los Angeles currently does not invest enough on all youth, and this is why we are advocating for the creation of a youth development department in the City of Los Angeles. The campaign continues to advocate for positive youth development programs after so many years because we believe that every youth deserves to have access to positive youth development programs. I was part of positive youth development programs as a high school student at Legacy LA, where I was provided with tutoring, mentorship, taught leadership skills, and more importantly, we provided resources that guided me to getting accepted into a university that I never thought I would get the chance to get into. Organizations like Legacy LA and so many others that have been providing positive youth development programs for all youth show the importance of investing in youth, which is what the report written by the Youth Development Task Force focus on and recommends that the City of Los Angeles needs to provide youth with a youth development department. I urge you all here today to vote yes, because when you vote yes, you are not only voting for more investment on today's youth, but also for more investment on the youth of tomorrow and youth of the future. Thank you.
Private caller, press star 6 to unmute yourself. There's a private caller, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there? Yes, can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
CL, both items and general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute for each item and 1 minute for general public comment. 3 minutes in total. You can start now.
So I'll be brief on the first item. I'd just like to support all the voices that have come before the council today in urging you to move forward with this youth development department. And my only comment is just to move faster. They've been waiting for 7 years, and the council knows how to move more quickly when it can. there's plenty of funding sources. I don't even need to start with the police, but there's plenty of funding sources for the council to be able to move appropriately. On the second item, I would also urge the council to support this. However, I am concerned, as someone who worked with the stakeholders, that the proposed commission is comprised of 8 people appointed by the council, 3 by the mayor, and I believe that the stakeholders here supported a model that is similar to the Measure Advisory Councils, where stakeholders are elected by bodies of their peers, and only a few are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. I feel like a body completely appointed by the council will just be subject to the council, rewarding allies and silencing people who weren't nice to them. So, as much as I don't want to distract from the overall framework that is needed to support immigrants in the city, I just urge the council to be more democratic in how it chooses to hear from an advisory body such as a commission or an advisory council. In general public comment, I'd just like to comment that today the council members all voted, except for Paul Krikorian, in favor of a project where the Carpenters Union has specifically spoke out against it as being bad on wages and being bad overall on the labor.
Sir, please,
So,
agenda. I'm sorry.
I know, I'm on my general public comment. I said that. So, anyways, sorry. I'm sorry that you weren't paying attention, Mr. Prince. I'm sure you were on your phone again or something. But I was making a general public comment where I was calling you all out because only Paul Krikorian today was able to recognize that somebody who's serving on the interest of economic and development and jobs not be supporting the project that is bad for labor, bad for jobs, and overall bad for the city. And comes from a process, a very corrupt process, initiated by an indicted councilman.
Private caller, have another private caller, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please say your name and the items you'd like to speak on. You have already called. Caller ending in 8567, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please say your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, my name is Catherine, and I'd like to speak on, or give public comment on agenda item 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Thanks. My name is Catherine Platt, and I serve as the College and Career Success Director at Heart of Los Angeles, OLA. I'm a resident of CD14 who supports the Invest in Youth Coalition and their demand for equitable investment in our youth and the programs that support them. I've read the report written by the Youth Development Task Force, and these recommendations are long overdue. I urge you all to support the recommendations put forth by the Invest in Youth campaign because young people are being disproportionately impacted by this pandemic, and they need an independent youth development department whose sole purpose is to drive forward our investment in our future leaders of Los Angeles. From my understanding, Measure J passed and ensuring the safety of young folks by providing safe spaces and enrichment programs are all part of reimagining public safety. Therefore, these funds need to be invested to create a standalone Department of Youth Development. Thank you.
Caller ending in 7728, press *6 to unmute yourself. *778, press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 0661, press *6 to unmute yourself. *0661, press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 7182, press *6 to unmute yourself. 7182. Caller ending in 6354, press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller, are you there?
Yes, hello?
Hello, can you please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, my name is Alina Carmona, and I would like to speak on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
Okay, so again, my name is Alina Carmona. I'm a high school case manager with Legacy LA, who lives in the Council District 14. I hope y'all are actively listening to everyone calling, because I wholeheartedly believe and support the Investing Youth Coalition and their demand to equitable invest in young folks. I have read the report written by the Youth Development Task Force and know all these recommendations are long overdue. I urge you all to support the recommendations, because young people need a youth development department, period. Youth are the future, and their voices should be heard. I have seen how tirelessly our youth have worked and advocated #InvestInYouth. Our city needs to prioritize youth, and our city budget must reflect that. We need to include youth in the process, because they have been left out of the conversation for way too long. So please, thank you. I yield my time.
Caller ending in 2624, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 6631, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 6631, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 2624, press star 6 to remove yourself. 2624. Caller ending in 2701, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Caller, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, my name is Zach Flores, calling on item number 1.
Okay, you have a minute. Go ahead and start.
All right. Hi, folks. Zach Flores here. I'm an LGBTQ youth organizer and a constituent of CD14. I ask that you please support all recommendations presented by the Youth Development Task Force. The task force has worked diligently to articulate comprehensive planning and action to transform how youth are supported around the city. These recommendations prioritize equity and justice for young people through exemplary democratic and participatory process, empowering young people to self-determination. This is a good thing, a really good thing that we should all be in favor of and support through action, despite any bureaucracy or tradition that might try to hold us back. The Investing Youth Coalition is such an inclusive space. So vote yes, send this to council, and know that you're voting to support queer and trans youth around the city. So thank you. Please vote yes. Have a great day.
Caller ending in 2067, press star 6 to unmute yourself. 2067. Caller ending in 6376, 6376, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 7209, 7209, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Caller, are you there?
Yes.
State your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
My name is Cindy Alvarado, and I want to speak on item number 1. My family lives in Council District number 8, and I support the Investing Youth Coalition Task Force report and their demands for equitable investment in young folks. I have read the report written by their task force and know that I wish these resources were available to me when I was a young teen. I urge you all to support the recommendations, because for so long adults say youth is the future but don't invest in them. They then tell the youth to organize to make things happen, so they do. And their continuous commitment and personal investment in this vision, I feel, gives them the right to spearhead a standalone department, not one run by anybody else who has not done the work. Measure J has funds that can be used to guarantee the safety of young folks by providing safe spaces and enrichment programs, which are all part of reimagining public safety. My younger siblings and other family members deserve these resources that were not available to me. or my generation. If you believe youth is the future, please support this report, and I yield any time left.
Caller ending in 2624, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi. My name is Lori Collier, and I would like to speak on the Youth Development Council.
Okay, you have a minute to go ahead and start.
Hi, my name is Lori Collier with the Alliance for Children's Rights, and I would like to talk about the report on the Youth Development Task Force. One of the things in reading the report that I noticed there was an absence of some of the collaboration that's been done across Los Angeles with the Performance Partnership Pilot and the Opportunity Youth Collaborative to make sure that young people who experience foster care, juvenile justice, and the homeless systems are served by the youth employment opportunities and other youth programs. And in those conversations over the past 5 years, we've learned that the funding streams in the workforce development pathway are very narrow. And so one of the things I'd like to make a comment on is about how funding is going to be achieved to make sure we're not taking away dollars from existing programs that may be leveraging larger monies from the adult system to help offset the adult employment programs. In addition, I'd like to talk about how to make sure young people are a part of it.
Private caller, press star 6 to unmute yourself. Private caller. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Caller ending in 6376. 6376. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 0661. 0661. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 4515. 4515. Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Excuse me, members, we've had about an hour of testimony. We've had about an hour of testimony. I'm going to take 2 more calls so that we can move on with the rest of the agenda. I'm sorry, speakers, continue.
4515. Are you there?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please say your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Calvin Prez, and I would like to speak on agenda item number 1. As you guys may have heard,
Minute, go ahead.
as you guys may have heard earlier, I was a boy who was racially discriminated in 5th grade. Now, although my voice was silenced back then, now I'm back. By creating this department, you create a safe space for youth to discover new passions and serve your community. Now, I don't know if you feel pity for me, but I know for a fact that these organizations are lifesavers and saved my life back then, including the ones that each public commentator is speaking from right now. Now, I don't know if you guys have kids, but if you do or you don't, think about each life that can be affected through these organizations. Think about the kids that are probably being racially discriminated by their teachers right now. So please, I beg, vote yes on this agenda, because this is something that I'm very passionate about. Please do it for me. Thank you. I yield my time.
Caller ending in 2067. 2067. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 7634. 7634. Caller, are you there? Caller ending in 6376. 6376. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 7150. 7150. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 3540. 3540. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 7182. 7182. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 6376. Press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller ending in 4891. Press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Caller, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, I want to let you know that you're recalling folks who already gave comment, but I think comment is done. We're just trying to listen into the rest of the meeting.
Okay, we're going to end the public comment. I just want to thank everyone for the very passion and
Goodbye.
positive comments on both of the issues that we're considering today. We know the comments made by the callers were thoughtful and passionate, and I want to thank each of you for making your feelings known. Of course, this task force has been a project of Councilman Rodriguez, but she has not been the only one involved. And so we want to hear from Maria Lou Cavalanche and David C. Turner, the chair and vice chair of this committee. Since we've had so much testimony, I'm going to ask the chair and vice chair to take the next 10 minutes and sum up or provide us with additional information that you'd like for us to have. Lou, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm going to need to share my screen, so I hope I have that capability. Good afternoon. Thank you. I hope we get a little bit more than 10 minutes since we've done so much work, and if we don't, I just want to say that the voices of these young people is so moving, and I really hope that you take that into consideration. I'm going to see if I could share my screen, and we'll go through the PowerPoint pretty quickly. So myself and David Turner, and we have two youth representatives from the Youth Development Task Force, Monica Rodriguez, the youth, not the councilwoman, and Michelle Gutierrez are also going to present, and we'll try to go through the slides pretty quickly to give you an opportunity to ask any questions. And just to let you know, I'm here as a resident and not as a commissioner. So here we go. Thank you so much for your patience. Let's see. So as you heard, we've been working on this for a really long time. Here are the members. Process. The City Council established the task force. And we started back in April virtually and met consistently twice a month. We heard from many different city departments, and including outside agencies, LA County, City of Long Beach, gang interventionists. We had 4 listening sessions, and you'll see the topics there. I'll go through this pretty quickly. Youth in the City of LA, why this is so important.
I'm so sorry, but we can't see your screen.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see.
Take me off. You may have to continue without the usual presentations.
I guess somebody has to give you permission to do it.
I'm not sure who's the host of the meeting, but yes, they would have to give you co-host permission.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can. Sorry about that. So let's see. So just to let you know, I don't know, hear reverb. So there's 800,000 youth in the City of LA, and the indicators basically, a large percentage of young people are color, living in under-resourced communities, and let's see, I'm just going to go straight to some of the indicators. So there's 64,000 disconnected youth. There's about 30,000 youth arrests annually. Some of the really impacted districts are, as you probably already know, District 13, 6, 8, 7, 8, 9, 11, 14. One of the things that is has been an issue has been the lack of coordination. So there's been a couple of council motions that have started back in from back in 2016. We had a council motion from Mr. Weezer and Harris Dawson that focused on being able to get an assessment of all the youth investment. And what we found was that there's 26 different programs run by different departments and organizations and offices in the city of LA that have a lack of coordination, and there isn't an ability to develop any sense of impact or metrics because there is no accountability system. The city currently invests about $60 million in youth development. Compared to other cities, San Francisco invests about $200 million, and New York invests $800 million. And they have been able to leverage lots of different state funding and federal funding, which we're missing out because we don't have a dedicated department that's focused on it. Cities like Seattle, Oakland, and Portland have passed initiatives, voter initiatives, that have created a pot of money for youth development. That's something that you might want to consider here in the city of LA. So basically, the needs are that there needs to be a coordinated vision and strategy for youth investment, and not having the infrastructure and focus on youth really minimizes our ability to bring in the funds that need to be brought in or leveraged from philanthropy, from the county, from the state. There's a duplication of effort. There's various entry points. There's a lack of tracking systems, and we're leaving a lot of money on the table. So as you see in the report, we have some recommendations, and I'm going to shoot it over to David.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, definitely want to thank all the young people who participated in public comment. For your voices are really important. So just real quick to run through these recommendations. I think the first and sort of paramount recommendation that the young people uplifted was the need for the specificity with having a youth development department. Definitely want to make sure to underscore that. I think that was something that was chief among the young people who we talked about this with. And again, we engaged, over 200 young people and dozens of organizations across the summer as well, moving into the fall. We want to make sure that the youth development department is not only implemented as a department, but also young people have some version of a say-so, where you'll hear more about that later, right? And in addition to that, we want to make sure that some of the funding, right, like for this particular department is streamlined. I think, as Lou alluded to a little bit earlier, right, there are so many different pockets of funding, right, for young people, but it doesn't live in one particular place, right? So that's one of the things for sure that we definitely want to uplift and that we want to highlight. I wanted to focus on this particular area here. I think one of the things that we discussed was there should be greater coordination between public systems. And when we say greater coordination between public systems, we're talking about having some version of a single entry point for youth services, right? So being sure that that we can funnel young people into the services that they need without creating a bottleneck and preventing young people from getting services. In addition to that, right, like being able to coordinate with other youth serving agencies, not only countywide but also locally here in the city of Los Angeles, right? Like we should have a very clear and strong relationship with the Los Angeles Unified School District, who is also looking to identify other efforts and other ways to support students, right? So I think that is one of the chief things, right, that we wanted to highlight. Moving on from there, right, we definitely want to ensure that the city develops some version of a 3-year strategic plan, right? That should be the first thing after the youth development department is created, right? So that way we can ensure that there is a roadmap to full implementation and that we can serve these over 800,000 young people in the city. right? And the strategic plan should include versions of programmatic goals, as well as, what are going to be some of these metrics that we're going to use to effectively assess what youth development looks like here. Again, right, like one of the things that we want to do too is we want to make sure that that we build on some of the already great existing work that's in the city, right? So to give you an example, I was a part of an initiative between the Liberty Hill Foundation, the LA County Appropriations Department, and California Community Foundation, the public-private partnership, which was able to use county funds to distribute directly to community-based organizations. We need more type of initiatives like that, right, that are able to better leverage the inner workings between philanthropy, nonprofits, service agencies, and public entities in order to ensure that we can get these funds directly to people who are doing the service work on the ground and doing it today. So we definitely want to make sure that we can create some sort of mechanism to do that. And finally, one of the things that we really want to pay attention to is equity, right? I think there are many initiatives, whether we're talking about the passing of Measure J, whether we're talking about the Student Equity Needs Index and LAUSD, whether we're talking about the current work that a lot of us are engaging in the LAUSD to ensure that we invest money in Black student achievement, right? I think one of the things around equity is we want to make sure that this funding gets to those areas that need it most. I think part of Lou's conversations, right, is that, there are certain council districts, right, whether we're talking about districts 8, 9, whether we're talking about districts 1 or 14, right, that absolutely need increased levels of investment, right, because of the levels of dispossession that young people experience, right? So with that being said, right, like we want to make sure that there are certain metrics that are put in place so that way these services can be concentrated and funneled to those young people who need them most. And we know that the pandemic has exacerbated a lot of these different issues, right? So we want to be sure that we can get funding to these places, so that we can, enhance standards of living, right? Young people can have and live sort of longer and healthier lives. And as we heard in public comment, where young people were talking about, them feeling abandoned, or, them not having the access to those resources, or, their schools not being those core supports. We know that communities have been those supports. I think it's time for us to empower our communities to be able to do this work. Right, and that will come in the form of Youth Development Department. With that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it to Monica, who's going to talk a little bit about youth hubs and youth decision-making power.
Thank you so much, David. So, hi, good afternoon. My name is Monica Rodriguez, and I'm a youth from South LA, and I was also previously part of the Mayor's Youth Council before joining the Youth Development Task Force and the Youth Advisory Board, and I got involved with this because it's important that we not only uplift youth voices, but start investing in them. So in addition to equity, being able to provide that equity can also come in the form of creating youth hubs. So these will be community youth hubs to create a network across the city of Los Angeles, staffed by caring adults who will provide a safe and productive space for young people, including at-promise and disconnected youth within their community. And with these hubs, we'll be able to provide a variety of programs such as access to technology, employment training, the arts, counseling and therapy services, because another huge crisis seen in youth is the mental health crisis. In addition to the creation of youth hubs, we would also like for youth to become more involved in decision-making powers. So youth will essentially play a central role in both the strategic direction of the Youth Development Department and in its day-to-day management. This will start by creating a Youth Advisory Board, which is composed of a group of young people from LA's most vulnerable communities to help guide strategic direction and department policies. For instance, actual decision-making power in decisions about programming, budget, programs and evaluation, directly involved in the creation and implementation of key programs such as youth outreach workers and ambassadors, along with the participatory budgeting. So with outreach workers and ambassadors, they will be trained and paid individuals who represent the department and go out into these communities to perform outreach and engage youth within these programs to lead community service projects and conduct intakes. And with participatory budgeting, this will work hand in hand with the Youth Advisory Board and also these ambassadors to involve youth in budgeting and provide youth a direct influence on the department's budgeting, share grant priorities, etc. So it reflects the community needs and equity indicators. Thank you. And I'm passing it over to Michelle.
To wrap
Hello,
up.
my name is Michelle Gutierrez.
Michelle, I'm going to ask you to close it out. Next 3 or 4 minutes, please. We have other items on the agenda that we have to move to. So we appreciate your input and comment, but ask that you summarize.
So lastly, we wanted to focus on the initiative that would ensure community safety for youth. So one of the recommendations that we heard from youth through the listening sessions was peacemakers. Peacemakers would help reduce community violence and strengthen the connections throughout the community in which they're living in. And then as well as community-based youth advocates, which will strengthen, they will put in place protective measures between youth and law enforcement. As we've seen over the past couple months and throughout the years, youth don't always have the best interactions with law enforcement, so this would provide them a 24/7 assistance if they're arrested or they come into contact. And so youth have been asking for this and asking for some support, and so these initiatives have been created with the intention that they gain that support. And lastly, I'll pass it on to David so you can end.
Or you can shoot it to me to wrap up. We have this whole presentation.
Okay, Lou.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I'm so sorry that you didn't get to see and hear our whole presentation. I really think that this merits, the time that it needs, because it's been a lot of work for the...
Right. Well, I thought that's why I took the time so that individuals could speak, because I thought that's what it merited too. I want to give all the...
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm going to wrap it up, Council Member.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so lastly, the big thing that I think that everybody wants to know is, how would you fund this department? And so we'll end with that. You have the report in front of you that has the rest of the recommendations. But one of the things we really need, the CEO's office has basically looked at possible ways to fund the department, and one of the things that they came up with was you could fund a department with 1.7 million, and then at long term would be to start moving some of those youth programs that are already serving youth, like employment programs, under this department. We're recommending at this point, the task force is recommending that we invest $10 million. There's the redirected money from LAPD that can get this department off the ground. And long term, we would recommend that if you're looking at a long-term investment and long-term investment in young people, that 2% of the unrestricted funds of the city budget be used to fund the youth development department. So to close, I would say that this is an opportunity to move this item to council for further discussion. By creating a department doesn't take away the ability from create other departments. We have various departments that have been created in the last few years. We have, cannabis department. We have other offices that have been created, equity and diversity. We have very specific departments that focus on aging, disability, animal regulation. So I believe we can have a department that's focused on youth. If we don't have a youth department, we're going to be leaving money on the table. There's Measure J, there's state money. There's a lot of money that's coming down the pipeline, but we are not organized enough to be able to figure out how to leverage all those funds. And there's so many different opportunities that we'll leave on the table, but we need this department to get off the ground now to start developing that strategic plan to be able to get in line to get those funds. And it's probably the most effective public safety strategy you can think of. We can't wait. Homicide rates are, increasing every weekend, yet we're not investing in these communities. So it can't wait. We need to take action now. And I urge you to be bold, to be brave, and to, move this recommendation to council to create a youth department. That's the best investment you can make.
Okay, thank you, Lou. I want to thank you as chair of the task force with the other members for your passion and for your ideas. I think that we all understand the importance of our young people. my district, the population, about a third of our population is under 18, and so I understand fully well. Members, any questions at this time? All right, well, seeing that, I'm going to recommend that we continue this item and pending a report back from the CLA, CAO, HCID, and EWDD that will evaluate the recommendations of the Executive Task Force on Youth Development to report back. Any objection? Okay.
A couple questions.
Mr. Blumenthal.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. Can't hear you.
Great, thank you. No, I was trying to raise my hand before. I just wanted to make a comment. I mean, I was really moved and inspired by all the people who called in, and I just think that's great. We have to invest in our youth, certainly. I know we all share that. I also especially want to thank Pierre Ariella, who was my appointee to the task force through Public Works, and he does a great job with the Grade 818ers. And I think one of the speakers was affiliated with them, and they're just a great example of what youth development can be all about. And for me, a big part of this too, the most compelling thing is obviously the mission, but also the money that we leave on the table. I see us doing that all the time, and it kills me when we, there's state money, there's federal money, there's grant money that we need to be going after that are separate and apart from our basic budget functions. So part of whatever effort moves forward needs to be that focus, that we make sure that we are, when it comes especially to youth, if there's money on the table, we're figuring out how to get that, and the focus that's needed so that folks are figured out on those grant opportunities and creating those efficiencies, and also creating the agency within our youth to help make that happen is really exciting. So I'll leave it at that and just say thank you for giving me that moment. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Not a problem. Mr. Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to take a couple seconds to thank profusely our colleague, Councilwoman Rodriguez, for carrying the ball on this. I know young people and organizations have been working on this not only before she was on council, but before I was on council too. And I remember getting hit up my first week of city council by Youth Justice Coalition saying, here, do this. And I was like, wait, I don't even know where the bathrooms are. Give me a chance. And they were very passionate about it and very insistent on having the department, so it's nice to see it come to this fruition. There's one point, and this may be in the materials, and we did not read them closely enough. When this proposal was first made, and I want you to know, Mr. Krikorian, I sent them to you immediately when they said this. They raised, as a matter of policy, that our spending on youth intervention ought to be a function of our spending on law enforcement. So that if we have enforcement, however enforcement grows, our investment in intervention and youth services should grow proportionally. And I just was wondering where that idea or that concept was in process. I get all the other resources that we can get, and I'm, of course, all for that. But I think they raised an important question that, of course, has gotten blown open into a broader public discussion since the time they first made that proposal some 7-8 years ago. Now there's all kinds of questions that get at similar issues. But I just wanted to check in and see where we were with that part of the conversation.
Can I?
You're asking Paul or anyone that wants to respond?
I'm asking anyone who wants to respond. I'll let Mr. Krikorian off the hook on this one.
I'll answer really quickly for our report, and then I think David wants to say something. In our report, in the initial investment, we're asking for a substantial amount of the investment to go to, we're calling them peacemakers, because they do more than gang intervention. They're out and doing community development work. And that's what the interventionist told us, that they want to be seen as peacemakers, not just gang interventionists. There's a lot of work that's happening in the community. So that is our priority, to invest in peacemakers. And obviously, as the department grows, I think the investment in that type of work needs to be commensurate to everything else that we're investing in these communities. So yeah, so that was a big priority for that and these youth hubs, places for youth to go to stay open late. Because sometimes kids get picked up by the cops because they're hanging out in their neighborhood when they don't have anywhere else to go. So we're saying invest in the peacemakers and invest in youth hubs right away. And David?
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilmember Harris Dawson. I think, very similar to a lot of the conversations this summer, right, as some of you know, I was a part of the People's Budget and other things. I think one of the things that we need to remember is that investing in youth development is a public safety strategy, right? It is a strategy, right, to ensure that that we have the proper tools, mechanisms, and protocols to keep communities safe and prevent, right, some of these crimes from happening, especially when we're talking about violent crime. Right, I think with that being said, right, to make a long story short, the investment in peacemakers, right, if we had that right now, I can only imagine how different, South LA would be right now, given, the sort of spike in violence. I can imagine how different, other parts of Los Angeles would be that have seen, these different spikes, right? And again, it's because we don't have access to the peacemakers, we don't have access to the jobs, all of the things, right, that, the Youth Development Department can help to provide. So with that being said, those are, I think, just two very quick things and two quick reasons why we should invest in this and we should do it expeditiously.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I appreciate the comments about the community intervention workers. I'm, as big as an advocate and tree shaker for the intervention workers as there is on the council, and very proud of that. I guess maybe my question is to Councilwoman Rodriguez. There was a specific ask in the beginning that the budget for this department be set as a ratio to the amount we spend on law enforcement. Or 1% was the number that was brought to me back then. And I just wondered, did that fall off? Is it still in discussion? Where is that part of the conversation at this moment?
Well, I think we're still in the conversation. And I think that, the work of this task force was to identify the need and to elevate youth voices and how we focus that energy. Right now, during the last recession, the Commission on Children, Youth, and Families that played a minor role, we'll say, in this conversation was consumed and merged into HSIC. What happens is when you don't have a singular focus on an issue, just as we're seeing now, you lose that conversation and the momentum to build out that work. And so we're in a situation right now when we're talking about the 26 different departments, is that there's no accountability, no coordination, no metrics. There's no assurance that the money is actually being used in with its intended purpose. And so we're also not meeting the needs of all the thousands of kids. If you go back to the CLA report that I first requested, even before we commenced this work, was to ask the departments to report back on, of all the money that you've received, how many youth are you actually serving? And it was such a non-number. And based on the money that they were saying that they were spending, I don't understand how we have any problems. But the truth of the matter is that we know we have a broken system. And the conversation around this is to harness the resources that we have and make better use of what we have, to focus it in the areas where we know we're failing in certain communities, communities like yours, communities like mine, where we know that disproportionately we're seeing that underinvestment, where we could do better at coordinating resources amongst the other agencies. And I'm not talking about within the city of Los Angeles, I'm talking about externally. When we talk about a 10 to 25-year-old age population that's being missed in this conversation, because it's much broader than some of the context that we've had thus far. So I think, again, this is the start of the conversation to say, guys, this is all the money that we're leaving on the table. Just as we've had the conversation about having a health department, because we've seen how we are not getting our fair share of dollars. When we talk about Prop 47, when we talk about Measure J, when we talk about after-school funding from the state that is available, we need all those resources on the table. So we can find the money for every other effort in this department, and have these every other effort when it comes to respect for law enforcement, but it should be commensurate with the work that we do on youth, and that isn't happening right now.
Thank you for that. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure I'm in violation of the Brown Act for belaboring this vote for a really long time.
Well, it's a violation for a good cause, so we'll take it at that. Seeing no other comments, we're going to continue this item, pending a report back. As I mentioned earlier, from the CLA, CAO, HCID, and EWDD. No objection, that will be the order. Again, thank you all for your participation in this meeting. Okay, Mr. Clerk, item 2.
Sorry, Councilmember Price, could I just request I just had a quick clarification. When was that report back expected from the CLA and the CAO?
Do we have the date back? Precise date. I'm hoping that we can get it within the next 45 days.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, again, think about this in the context of the broader budget cycle and make sure that we were able to hear it in a timely fashion and consider it before we were making inputs into next year's budget. I know it's a hard budget given all the circumstances, but I do think this is really an important issue, and I think sometimes our spending on in the city is, penny wise, pound foolish, and so I think it would be good to think about this proactively and use this opportunity to really give it that thought.
I agree. Okay, last call. Any other comments on this item? Okay, let's go on to item 2, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Chavez? Item 2, who reads the item?
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Chavez. I'm with the Office of the Chief Legislative Analyst. Before you is a CLA report in response to motion of Ferro Martinez Rodriguez, which instructed our office to report on funding and service gaps for undocumented immigrants in relation to federal coronavirus legislation. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government has enacted several bills to provide financial assistance to families, small businesses, hospitals, and corporations impacted by the pandemic. 2 of these bills are the CARES Act and the Consolidated Appropriations, which included cash assistance for families and individuals. Both excluded undocumented immigrants. The CARES Act further excluded all status families, including U.S. citizen spouses and U.S. citizen children. Through the CARES Act, eligible individuals received up to $1,200 per individual and $500 per child, up to a maximum of 30. In December 2020, the federal government passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which included cash assistance to individuals of $600 for adults and $600 per dependent child. As part of this law, members of mixed status families with Social Security numbers now qualified for assistance and were retroactively eligible for CARES Act economic assistance. The law, however, continued to exclude undocumented immigrants and U.S. citizen children where both parents lack a Social Security number. Our office is now monitoring President Biden's proposal called the American Rescue Plan, which is also aimed to assist businesses and individuals impacted by the pandemic. Council has already instructed our office to monitor and report back on the American Rescue Plan as it goes through the legislative process, and we will certainly include a report back on any funding gaps for undocumented immigrants. Our report also provides a summary of the made by the state through the DRY project, which provided unemployment benefits specifically to unemployed, undocumented workers who were impacted by the pandemic and received no further form of assistance. The state DRY project provided a maximum of 500 per individual, up to a maximum of 1,000 in one-time cash assistance. It received approximately 150,000 applications, and approximately 27.5 million was dispersed in Los Angeles and Orange County combined. Also, in direct response to the pandemic, the city of LA also established a number of programs to mitigate the economic impact to low-income Angelenos. These programs did not consider immigration status as a factor for qualification. These programs include the Angeleno Card, the COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Subsidy Program, the Small Business Emergency Microloan Program, the LA Regional COVID-19 Relief and Recovery Fund, and the Utility Grant. Our report notes that the Councilman Mayor established programs through the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs and the Office of Public Engagement to conduct community outreach. These offices have worked in collaboration with local immigrant rights organizations to assist the city's undocumented community. I'll add that despite the funding provided by the federal government to assist individuals, the one-time unemployment benefit provided by the state and city efforts to mitigate the economic impact of the pandemic, funding gaps continue to exist for undocumented immigrants. While the city's program did not exclude undocumented immigrants from receiving assistance, there is no data at this time that shows the participation rate of undocumented immigrants. Our report includes a recommendation to instruct the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department with metrics and methods to evaluate the participation rate of undocumented immigrants in city programs. Lastly, at the request of the author of the motion, this report also includes a review of immigrant rights commissions in other cities. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez, for your report and for your assistance in this effort. Members, are there any questions at this time? Councilwoman Robin, looks like you got a question.
Yeah. Well, no, not a question. I just wanted to say that comment. Yeah, really quickly that I do think that the idea of doing outreach to residents who are undocumented and making sure that we have some kind of data about the efficacy of that outreach and the efficacy of our work, just trying to reach out to them is so important, and I appreciated that recommendation coming out of this report. I think it's incredibly integral to the work we want to do going forward and to see how we can better improve on that progress going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, well, given that the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department is still being formed, I'd like to amend recommendation 1 to make the CLA the lead department on the report back, with assistance from the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department, HCID, and EWDD, and that we approve the report recommendations as amended. Are there any objections to that? Okay, seeing none, that will be the order. Mr. Clerk, is there anything else on our desk? Mr. Clerk, is there anything else on our desk? I'll take that as a no. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.